Hi, it's Louise at Spiral Bright Insight. I wanted to do an energy check-in because there is an awful lot going on right now. And we're in this week where, for those of you who received my Cosmic Currents email on Monday, I did sort of hint at the fact that it was going to be an intense week. And yeah, that is certainly proving to be the case. So I thought I'll just hop on, share a little bit about what is coming through the charts and some reflections on how we might be experiencing the energies. Obviously everybody is unique, everybody is going to have their own filter, their own experience, and it's very much dependent on where you're at and your own perspective and your own experience and your own situation. But I hope that by sharing a little bit of what I'm sort of feeling into, that will help you in some way. So if you're new to my channel, I'm a galactic and an intuitive astrologer, and I work with lots of different energies, really using astrology and the charts as my way to access the energy in, I guess in much the same way as intuitives work, people using tarot, people reading the Akashic records, tuning in. I just use astrology and the planets and the signs and the symbols as my language, as my vocabulary, I guess. So we are in this week today. The sun has just moved into Scorpio, and when I checked this morning, I was like, oh my goodness, there is so much Scorpio in the chart right now. We've got sun, moon is also in Scorpio. We had the new moon in Libra on Tuesday, 2 days ago. Now both sun and moon are in Scorpio. Moon is going to meet with Mars and Mercury today, who are also in Scorpio. So that is a lot of Scorpio energy. And when we're working with Scorpio, this is really taking us into the depths of our psyche, of our emotional experience, our emotional world. Scorpio is one of the three water signs. And I'm going to talk about the other water signs in a minute, but in particular, Scorpio is really about depth. So when we're working with Scorpio, we are going into, this is all about subterranean type of water, the waters that lie really, really deep down where there is no light necessarily, because, we're going way beneath the surface. So anything that is remotely linked to superficiality or surface level feelings, talk, interactions, it doesn't cut it with Scorpio. We have to go deep, and that can make people uncomfortable, which is sometimes why I think Scorpio gets a little bit of a bad rap potentially. It is linked to Pluto. It is about the underworld. It is very much about shadows and exploring the psyche and what lies hidden, which can make us uncomfortable. There's a reason why we keep things hidden. There's a reason why we sort of things do lurk in the shadows, because there's fear potentially there, or there's resistance, or we just don't want to go there, quite frankly. But with Scorpio, and with such strong Scorpio in the chart, the sun is moving through Scorpio for the next month. So we have got, this is a time where we do have to really explore what is hidden. And, when we're going into the depths, really into the dark, sort of deepest caverns, things start to get stirred up. And I'm sort of being shown it as, the silt on the surface of the water. When we start to go right into the depths, we're going to shake things up that perhaps have been lying there quite happy, quite, yes, we're aware of it, but we don't really want to explore it. But this is really the time when we are being forced to. So Scorpio as a water sign is linked to emotions. It is also linked to exchange. Because Pluto is the ruling planet of Scorpio, we are also working with control, with power. Sometimes, again, with exchange, it can be exchange of anything. So exchange of energy, exchange of time, exchange of love, emotion, but also physical resources. So from a more sort of 3D perspective, Scorpio often is linked to finances and inheritance. So this is about our instincts. This is where we have to move away from the mind and come down into the body. And you know as the sort of silt starts to get moved around, it can make the waters very murky. It can make the energy very blurred. Often there's a lack of clarity. But it is about going into and exploring the hidden parts. So speaking for myself, I think this feels like it's been going on certainly longer than just a couple of days or even weeks. But I do feel that we are in a time when we are really going into the depths to really explore the hidden parts of ourselves. And it is intense. There's lots of triggers. And again, this is about the universe, the higher self, bringing in these situations so that we can start to explore. We need the triggers to be able to unlock all those hidden parts, because without that kind of, and when I'm thinking about Scorpio now and that sting in the tail, we need things to be sharp, to bite, to sort of, to pinch us, or we just carry on regardless. So we may find that there are things sort of coming into our field over the coming sort of it's 29, 30 days of the sun in Scorpio. We may find that there are things that are sort of, almost like pushing us, prodding us, or hurting us in some way, because it forces us to pay attention. And this is where Scorpio again can get the bad rap. But I'm also really drawn to the fact that Scorpio is about letting go. It's about releasing. It's about eliminating. With Scorpio, there is this innate understanding that everything in life is a circle, and a cycle, and that as we sort of let go and shed layers, we create the space and the opportunity for the new to come in. So it is highly creative energy, but very sort of focused on regeneration, rebirth, destruction, so that the creation can come forward. And again, I'm reminded at this time of year, particularly in the Northern Hemisphere, we are in full on autumn. When I was driving back from my yoga class this morning, there's just leaves blowing everywhere. The trees are shedding, and this happens just naturally. The trees don't kind of, well, I'm assuming that they don't have this like, right, let's go, it's time to release. It just happens naturally, and it's like this flow, this constant cycle, this loop that it's almost like this is the time to let go and to shed layers and release what no longer serves us. Because when we're starting to get ready to move into Sagittarius, we need that lightness, we need that we need to get rid of the density in order to be able to fly, to be able to rise up, to see the bigger picture. And that comes after the cycle of Scorpio that we are in. So there is, this stirring, this depth, lots of shadow coming up. So if you are experiencing that, know that this is a response to the wider energies, and this is all part of the process. We're in this number 9 year. We're really coming to the end now. We're coming remarkably, we're more than halfway through October already, even though it feels it's only just started. We're only going to have 2 months left of 2025 before we're moving into the 1 year. So we have to let go. This is such a critical time, intense time of shedding and letting go, and all those sort of parts of the self that have been hidden, that have been locked down, that have been buried, have to come up. And it feels even more intense than perhaps it would be normally, because we've got the number 9 energy. We've also got Neptune moved into Pisces yesterday. So Neptune in retrograde is sitting at the final degree of the zodiac. This is sort of the territory of endings, of releasing, of letting go. Neptune in Pisces in particular, is about surrendering. So it's almost like, again, that understanding of the cycle, of the wisdom of, we don't even need to think about this. There's nothing to think about. It's almost like it's just going to happen naturally. So we don't therefore need to create resistance. We cannot hold on. With Scorpio and Pisces, and don't forget Saturn and the North Node are all in Pisces as well, we have to let go. And again, just look to nature, to the trees, that they don't try and hold on to the leaves. It just happens. And this is where we are being invited to come in to that mindset as well. The more resistance we put up, the more we try to cling on and hold on, the more we are going to struggle. So it is about letting go. It's about recognizing when something has had its day, when it's run its course, when the lesson has been learnt and we need to move on. And that could apply in so many different areas of our life. And, when it comes to so many different emotions as well, it's going to be playing out differently for us all. With strong water in the chart, we are going to be feeling much more sensitive, much more intuitive, able to read, particularly with Scorpio. You can almost read what is unseen. That it's a very empathic sign, so you can sort of feel into the space between the words, or the currents that are running beneath the surface that aren't necessarily obvious, but if you really sit and tune into it, you can feel your way. And this is very much, a time when we are feeling our way. We've got to come out of the head. The mind is an absolute brilliant tool, and it has served us really well. But I'm being shown time and time and time again that the mind really can create any story, any dialogue, any narrative. And because it's in the mind and we've thought about it, we can very easily attach to it and believe that it is true, even when there is no basis of truth in it. And I've been shown, as I've been doing a lot of shadow work as well, none of us are immune, how I have been holding on to, or I've created lots of beliefs, lots of narratives, lots of stories about things that might have happened to me in the past, or stories around people, relationships, whatever it is. And when I really sort of kind of come to sit with it, and again it comes through a trigger, and I'm doing lots of different sort of development work at the moment, and so there's lots of triggers, lots of opportunities to actually sit with things and question things. When the trigger comes, and I'm like sort of sitting with it, I'm like, oh my goodness, I had this belief. And because it was in my mind and it was very convincing, my brain's very, good at convincing me of what it wants me to believe, often as a protection or self-defense mechanism, I think, ultimately. So again, we've got to release judgment of this. But it's like, okay, is it true? And what I've been doing, or what I've been encouraged to do, is to try and remove myself from my sort of physical 3D human avatar, and question it or look at it from my higher self perspective, or from the perspective of source. Because when we start to do that, I suddenly realize that actually, how could it be true? How could that be true? Because if I'm seeing situation from the perspective of source, there is nothing but perfection. Everything is by design. Everything is exactly as it's meant to. And it's only my human self, my human filter, my human lens that is sort of adding a layer to it that perhaps creates some shadow or some challenge or some resistance or whatever it is. So again, if that is coming up for you, and the stuff coming up and it feels uncomfortable, and it's going to be different for everybody, but see if you can just stop and say, okay, what would my higher self consider or think or perceive, or how would it respond in this situation? What exactly is going on? Because often the trigger, the situation, the whatever comes into our field, it's not about that. The experience is coming in so we can access part of ourselves, or a deeper understanding of something that has been hidden, that's been dormant. With Scorpio, I'm coming back now to the water. Obviously, Scorpio is about depth. It's about stillness of water. There are undercurrents underneath, but we can't see it. So there can sometimes be stagnancy with Scorpio. So it's about, and if we don't kind of go down into the depths and move that water around, it will become stagnant. It does become quite rotten and quite, unpleasant. It smells, it's dirty, it's like lurid. So this is why with Scorpio, we have to go down into the depths. We have to keep that water moving, because everything is ultimately about flow. So again, I'm reminded of the importance of looking beneath the surface at this time, especially to see what beliefs are you holding on to that actually, when you really sit with them and, ask, to see them from a different perspective or a higher perspective, you can start to question and you can actually say, gosh, why would I even think that? That's actually really crazy. That just does not make sense. But so why would I hold on to that and believe it? And of course, when things start in the mind and we believe something, the body then sort of fulfills completes the cycle by going, that, actually, well, if my mind's thinking it, then the body's going to believe it. And then that sort of creates even more it perpetuates the cycle because things can then get locked in the body. So I hope I'm making sense. So it really is a time to, if there are triggers coming in or things are uncomfortable, just take a moment and say, okay, what is this really about? Because again, newsflash, it's never actually about the thing that is coming into the field. That is just a way to help you access or unlock what it is that you're meant to explore. And again, I've been shown that time and time and time and time again. And we do set up these experiences and situations for ourselves because we want to learn, we want to grow, we want to evolve. And of course, with Scorpio, linked to Pluto, this is prime evolution sort of season. This is about growth, but it is about growth by looking at the parts that we have kept hidden and seeing that actually there was never anything wrong with them. There was never any real reason to hide them away because they were just a different expression of light. And if we can start to again shift our perspective and change the lens that we are looking through, we can change our outer reality in a blink. It's just, again, it sounds like I'm simplifying it, but I've been shown again and again of how much truth there is in this. And it's not easy, because the mind, the human sort of character ego comes in and gives up loads of reasons and loads of challenges and loads of resistance. But it's about being able to come into that stillness and start to say, okay, if I looked at this from a different viewpoint or a different vantage point, or saw it through the lens of somebody else, I'm thinking of the exchange energy with Scorpio, how would that shift my understanding, my perception, my experience, and my response to this particular situation? So we've got obviously strong water with Pisces, strong water with Scorpio. Jupiter is in Cancer as well, and Jupiter is coming into a square with Chiron over the coming days. So this is again, with Cancer, the water's slightly different. This is about our inner waters, our inner light, our emotions. Again, this is kind of our inner world, our foundations, our anchor. So Jupiter is expanding our ability to explore our inner world, to anchor ourselves in. I've been working on a program. It is ongoing, and it's interesting that it's happening while Jupiter is in Cancer because it's called Secure, and it's about exploring how and why and where I might not have felt safe. This is from an energetic perspective, and I'm starting to really explore how that has affected, again, beliefs, understandings, my nervous system's response, my body's response, and actually, is there any truth in all these beliefs that I've kind of been carrying with me for a long time? So again, it's so perfectly aligned in terms of the energy and the astrology for me to be working on something like this at this time, but this is the same for all of us. So, and again, understanding and meaning of the word safety is going to be different for everybody, but this is a really big theme. As Jupiter is squaring Chiron, we are realizing that, to get that expansion and to connect to feel more grounded, to feel more safe, we might have to face some of our fears. We might need to explore where, with Chiron in Aries, again, this is about the self, where we might not have felt enough, where we might have not felt able to come into the full self, to express the full self, to claim, to stand in the full self's power. So again, this is quite tense, this is quite challenging. There is a square is not necessarily easy, but it's time to really look at these issues and to face them, to square up to them, and to see that perhaps, was there any truth in it, or is it just something that is going to force you to look at these issues, force you to explore the self, force you to remember who you are, to remember that actually there was never anything wrong, there was never anything missing, even if your body, mind, belief, society told you. it's like, yeah, smashing through those beliefs and those ideas to really remember who you are, so that we can experience that big expansion of light and safety and anchor ourselves in more fully. And when we're fully grounded, fully anchored in, fully safe, and we know who we are, which is again Chiron and Aries, we need to remember who we are. That's the wound. We've forgotten who we are. This is when we can really start to expand and grow out. And of course, Jupiter will be moving into Leo next year, next summer. And this is when we really start to be able to express ourselves. Be bold, be light, be bright, and be full of the self. So that's going to be a really exciting transit, which is coming up in mid 2026. So lots and lots of water, lots of sensitivity, lots of perhaps more intuitive sort of ideas, perspectives, psychic impressions, psychic visions coming through, lots of creativity as well, lots of compassion, lots of flow. So it's about just kind of going with it, trusting the process. The sun in early Scorpio is going to square Pluto as well tomorrow. So this is again forcing shadow. Pluto is an Aquarius. This is, again, it's like we need to go into the depths. And this, as Pluto is an Aquarius, this is potentially collective shadow. But also, shadow linked to technology, perhaps, or shadow linked to the future, or to even galactic type past or present, or shadow. So again, lots of different ways to interpret it, but that is going to feel quite and then the sun will meet with Shapley at the weekend, which again is about stripping off all those layers so that we can just, yeah, it's like get to the core essence, because actually what we need to be able to move forward into this new version of the self, the new human, the new earth, it's already in there. We've already got the template. The blueprint is in there. It's like the software is installed. The programs are there, but we've just got a lot of layers that are hiding it, that are kind of keeping it almost protected. And it's like we need to get rid of that. And suddenly conjunct Shapley is really going to help us get rid of the layers, really get to the core, to that original blueprint. Because as we remember who we are, and we remember that actually this whole process of ascension and shifting and growth is an inside job, and it's coming from within, and we've got all the tools, we've got all the programs, we've got all the support that we need. We just need to remember and go in and connect to it. Jupiter and Cancer helping us to connect to our inner light, feel safe enough to come into full expression. So much going on. The Sphinx is currently at 29 degrees of Capricorn, which is the anaretic degree of Capricorn. That feels really powerful. The Sphinx is like this timeless archetype, really challenging us to work out who we are. Can we solve the riddle? Can we call on all that ancient sort of legacy type energy, all the wisdom that we have accumulated over so many lifetimes, where we keep coming back, keep trying, keep learning, keep chipping away, keep adding, so that we can rise higher. And of course, Capricorn I see as the bridge between the physical and the spiritual. It's the highest point in the chart. So are we ready to kind of take everything that we've learned to get to that higher perspective? And as the Sphinx moves into Aquarius at the weekend, this feels like there's a huge kind of liberation energy coming through. But we now need to start to remember that actually the riddle of who we are is linked to who we are as part of the collective. How can we stand and use our unique energy and sort of build that into the greater field, the collective harmonic field, so that we're all kind of using our unique potential, our unique strand of light in order to weave it together to be part of a bigger picture. And of course, as we start to see our role as part of a bigger, wider collective, we're going to start to expand our understanding, so that we're kind of moving from just seeing us as humans and earth-based to, when we're moving into Aquarius, this really does bring in a wider galactic perspective and cosmic field. So again, I'm going to be talking a lot about that as we're moving into 2026, and really how so much of the astrology is going to take us out of our kind of selves as an individual, and seeing ourselves as, we're on our own, or if we take it to earth, humanity's on its own. Actually, no, the truth probably is that we're not on our own, and we never were, but we kind of forgot, and we're going to start to remember and open up, and there'll be lots of opportunities to validate that for us and to kind of show us. that humanity is part of a much wider collective. So that really feels very exciting. It's, we're going to, as we move through this weekend, Estrella, who is the Star Maiden, the goddess of justice, she is conjunct the Galactic Center, and I was tuning into that. I've got a real affinity with Estrella and her story and her themes and her archetypes. The goddess who remembers what it was like in the golden age. She knows the blueprint. She remembers, when everything was at one, when we all lived together, when we were in tune with our higher selves, when we knew who we were. She witnessed the fall of humanity, all that corruption, the distortion, the veil that came down. She tried to stay as long as she could, but ultimately she had to leave. But she has always been there waiting for the time when humanity can come back, when we can remember, when we can reinstall. It's not even reinstalling because it's already installed, but when we can just reconnect to that original blueprint, how things are meant to be. And there's such a strong energy of hope and devotion, and just like knowing, having that faith, which of course she's in a Sagittarius, that faith, that knowing that things are going to be all right. And the fact that she's connected to the Galactic Center, it's like, it just feels like she's tapping into that primordial pulse, that kind of the light that comes right from the center of from our solar system, from our from all that is, pulling us back to the memory of who we are, and remembering, that we are so much more than we ever really could ever have believed. So this is about removing all those layers so that we can access that freedom. And then once we've got rid of all the layers and anything that's holding us back, we can then sort of activate the template again, and we're off. That's what I'm being shown. So it's a time to really, I guess, if the shadow coming up, which, there's no way out. We have to go through, we have to go into the depths. That's how we get to the light, because if there's still hidden parts of ourselves, we've still got shadow, and we need to, it's such a big cleansing time, an elimination time, a purification time. Lots of the toxicity is coming up, and it's not necessarily going to be pleasant. We're going to see that personally, we're going to see that collectively in the media, with sort of world stories coming out. It has to, and there is no way through it. And again, so it's like just allowing it, being with it, and doing the work on yourself. We can't really change what's going on out there, but we can make huge changes within, and that is really how we shift everything, by starting inside, by doing the inside work, because it is an inside job. So where have you held back from embracing your own power? Scorpio season is going to really ask you to look at that. And also, just consider, what would it be like to live in your truth, to express your truth, and to embrace your fire, your power, your potency, feeling all those emotions, feeling all those feelings, and just, realizing how magical and how perfect and how whole you actually always were, regardless of all the kind of the stages on the path where you've actually maybe allowed yourself to believe something that is different from that. So there's probably a whole lot more I could add, as always, but I'm going to leave it there. So it's not too long a video for you, but I just wanted to really come on and sort of say, this is kind of what we're working with at the moment. So I hope you found that useful. Let me know in the comments how you are navigating, what's coming up for you. If I've said anything that sort of triggers any deep insight as well, do feel free to share that, because I think it's really helpful. I know people do read the comments, and I think it really helps to know that we're not alone. Each of us have got our individual experience, but collectively there's a lot of similarity as well when we sort of look at it from sort of that wider perspective. So I really do welcome comments, and thank you so much. If you're not on my mailing list, I'm getting some, people saying that the Cosmic Currents weekly email that I send out is like a lifeline to them at this time, which, that does mean a lot to me. So if you're not on that, you're not receiving that, and you'd like to, just join my mailing list. It's free. You'll get it on a Monday. It gives you a snapshot of what is coming up. And I know I find it really helpful, and a lot of other people have said the same. So you're very welcome to get a copy of that. that. And if you want to sort of look at what is going on within your own chart, how the energies are impacting your natal chart, I also do cosmic currents readings where we can look at the transits, we can look at the progressions, we can look at, what are the key themes coming up for you, and how is what's going on out there potentially influencing what is going on for you, as an individual at this time. So just check out my website if you're interested. And I also want to give you a heads up as well. I wasn't actually intending to do this, but yesterday I suddenly got this really strong sort of urge to create a program, I guess I haven't even given it a name yet, but it's basically a spotlight on the energy and the astrology for 2026. So I'm pulling that together at the moment. It's going to go through all the key transits of the outer planets, what the nodes are doing, what Jupiter's doing, what Saturn and Neptune are doing. We've obviously got that big conjunction in February. All the outer planets, and also Chiron. Chiron's due for a change as well, going to pop into Taurus next year. So there's a lot of change, lots going on next year. And I'm also bringing in the galactic fixed star energies as well to kind of add extra depth and an extra galactic cosmic layer to the astrology. So that will be available. I expect sometime in November. If you're on my mailing list, you will get an email to announcing that. It won't be hugely expensive, but it should hopefully give you a working guide to really see what is coming up. So that's on the cards as well, along with lots of other things. If you know me, I've got lots of ideas, lots of projects, lots of fingers and lots of pies. So it's just having the time and the energy to sit down and finish things sometimes seems to be a bit of a challenge, but it will all come together, I'm sure. So thank you so much for your support, for watching my content, and I will see you very soon.